All right. Welcome back for whoever has joined and is looking at the stream right now. Once again, it's Ready Chess, and I'll be doing another live stream of just one game, where just like in my previous video, now I'll be playing. Now this time, I've had my rating go quite up these past few days, so I'll be playing against tougher competition. But at the end of this stream, I'll cover some of the mistakes that I may have made over here, and I'll try to bring this into an end game and see if I can dominate this. But other than that, I'll keep track of the mistakes any that I do over here, and I'll just go from there, and I'll analyze them so that those who are watching don't make the mistakes that I do whenever they play in a similar position. All right, so he's moving the knight here. He's threatening to let me take this. I'll take the knight over here. And so black is doing white is doing a counter attack over here. And they're trying to attack this while also attacking the bishop over here. Well, I could also try to do the same by by attacking both this bishop over here. I mean, white has an option here to take over here on with the bishop on c3, because if I also take over here on knight c4, then white's queen can move to like d3 or so and try to attack both of these knights. But at some point I need a castle because this rook can get active anytime, and we have a pin over here. Okay, so he took this time. And now I feel that the rook can slide in over to e1 if he wants to. And I can't really save both of these pieces over here. So I feel that from this, I'll just castle, play it safe. So now I'll support this bishop over here. At least open up my white square bishop over here to annoy this rook over here. All right, I've gotten back up in time. I mean, this is a tough position because there's a lot of options here. Wait, hold on a second. I think I have a threat over here. I have a threat over here because not only am I attacking this bishop over here, but I'm also threatening a check over here. and to possibly open up this kink side. And looking at it, I don't really see any other way that both the pawn will be safe and the bishop, or unless you sacrifice, which I'll take. And I definitely go for, and I definitely take this rook over here. Now white's bishop has to defend itself. Now I'll bring out my bishop also. It's not over yet. It's not done yet. There's still a lot of time for white to come back over here. Oh shoot, I missed this. Shoot, I spoke too soon. Well, I'll be up, but at what cost though? Yeah, now he's got a threat over here. Yeah, I guess that shows that I guess that shows that you can't that you shouldn't do this you shouldn't be overconfident. And you might say at first that that you missed this. This was actually planned. I wanted to intentionally show like some of the feelings that you might experience whenever you feel that you're up. And yes, I might lose the game, but this is all just to show, just to show, because there's a lot of chess players out there who have no who kind of have a cocky attitude, no, when they're up. So no, it's always best to remind to always analyze the purpose of every move over here. All right, so now I got a bishop move over here. And the threat over here is to move this rook over here so that it can attack this f7 pawn. Well, I will be losing a pawn either way, right here. Now I feel like white has to take on d5 if he wants. But he chose not to. He's gonna try to go for this f7 move. I'll just move there for now because this pawn over here is already lost now. I want to force a queen trade over here. And force a queen trade, and then I can support my middle pawns over here while also guard the right side and help my king move up forward. This is not like per se like an endgame per se, but this is a very close situation where we're down to like a queen and a rook, and you have pawns that need to be promoted. I'm also threatening this a2 move and also e4 to continue my pawn push. So I feel at this point now white is kind of in a defensive mode right now. I can exchange these pawns, that way I don't have to worry about it. And then I take over here. I don't see any other counterattack. All right, so now I have to see if I can force something real quick over here. I've got to hurry though. I'm gonna give a check. I'm gonna give another one. And then I'll move my rook. I want to trap this rook or trap this king over here. And my queen is supporting the square. All right, so now white saw this and has to defend. Makes sense. I can't move up this rook because then I'm checkmated. But I can force. Well, white's rook can't move down to e8 because it's pinned. There's no other checks here, so I feel like I can exchange this rook, this annoying rook, and then it's just I'm up 2 pawns. Try to force this queen, and then I can just support this pawn all the way, and then just promote. But I don't want to like have a perpetual checkmate. It's perpetual like repetition. I'm okay losing a pawn. Fine. Oh, what the? I'm gonna give a check. And this stops white from checking on f5. I'll move the pawn up. And then I just can give a check over here on e2. And then I can support this pawn to d1. If that's the case. All right, now I'm gonna bring this up. All right, I'm running out of time over here. Now I just gotta start running around over here. I'm on the run. But I think this is gonna be a draw. All right, now I had to move. If I can get close to this I can hurry. Okay, now I just have to rush. Got him. Good job breaking in the endgame through strong maneuvers. And so it did come to this endgame over here. Now let's see. Now let's first start by analyzing this game the step by step over here of the key moments, which I already have over here. So the Italian game, this is the main line, which is for white, the Guico piano game is to get control of the center over here. Usually starts with this move, trying to support this pawn push over here on d2 to d4. And black counters it by moving to knight f6, trying to go for this e pawn. And so we have white goes aggressive. I have to take. I'll give a check. And then this is the Greco attack where you allow black to take a piece over here while trying to castle. Like let's say if I moved here, the entire point will be to like castle, force an exchange, and then possibly take, and then at this point you're kind of leaving white with a lot of attacking opportunities on this left side over here with this queen, this rook, these two bishops. So essentially that's what the reason white is up in that. So there's a castle and there's a take. And then instead white push the pawn, which is understandable, trying to create a counterattack, as I mentioned earlier, attacking both this bishop and this over here. And eventually one of these pieces are going to be lost. So I try to form one on my own with this counterattack over here. So even if I lose this bishop, I could take this bishop as well, and I'd be up a minor piece. But over here, white sees what's happening and then takes. And then the rook moves, lining up these two pieces. After castle, as I will be losing one of these. Rook takes. I have to move the pawn to get it to get the bishop active. And then this was the key moment right here, failing to understand this attack over here. And this is important because whenever you have a piece that's out in the open, you always have to know what are the threats that could possibly jeopardize this over here. Well, not like the whole game, but just briefly. And over here, he didn't notice that even though I was attacking this c4 one, I also had a better attack with this h2 pawn exposing the king side. And then this is where once again I showed that if you feel confident very early on, it can backfire on you. And so this is one of the turning points there. And here we have the rook moves. I take. And then this is where I felt was kind of a mistake over here, not trying to go for this d5 pawn and supporting this pawn over here, because this is valuable. It's 2 squares away from promoting, and it's forcing this rook to stay on the back rank. And yes, they're trying to attack this, but I can still slide in my queen here and defend this, while also attacking the d6 pawn over here. Just like that. Which is what I did. And then white takes the corner pawn. I take that. Even though I lose a pawn, it's okay. At least I have 2 open pawns that can promote over here. So I try to force a queen exchange over here. trying to at least probably get one pawn in. And I open it up so that my king can escape. And then I push, rook takes, I keep trying to push over here. The rook takes, a sacrifice is done. And over here, I'm up 2 pawns over here. And so I should possibly be winning. No, well, it's not that simple yet, because the only reason white can still keep alive in this is to keep checking me back and forth. Like over here, let's say if I after this move trying to push the pawn, I this pawn over here, give checks over here. And all with that, and this would be a huge mistake over here. Because you're essentially just letting white just keep checking you. And then this will go back and forth. And you don't want to move the queen, because then you're losing this pawn over here that you work so hard to promote for. So I moved queen e5, trying to possibly force this king to the back and then check and then try to get this pawn to stall, essentially. It's essentially just giving a check over here to stall, force the king to defend, and then move the pawn up one last square. And then over here, it's just maneuvering, just trying to move this king up to as close as possible to this pawn over here. And then from that, I was able to do so, and I was able to win on time. So essentially, like the things to note here is, one, make sure you're aware of your surroundings. Whenever you have any piece anywhere on the board, it's always good to just see what black might go after. Like, what are some weaknesses that I might see that I should respond to immediately, such as the queen attack on the bishop, while also threatening to attack this h2 pawn. And then the second one, once again, is do not get cocky. It's kind of the worst thing that you can do in chess. Me personally, I feel it's worse than actually losing a game fair, because you could have had it all, but instead you celebrated too early and assumed he wouldn't, and assumed he would give up, he or she. And then the last thing, last thing over here is once again analyzing the end game, which is the title of this stream. And by doing that, you essentially, whenever you're down to a queen and an extra pawn, in this case, white will do almost anything to keep checking the opponent's king, as a way to like force repetition and save itself from a losing position. So just had to be watchful of that and know what you're doing when you move the king, so that you don't end up in a risky spot. Well, that was the stream. Now, I thank you all for taking the time to listen to this. Now, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, as I'll continue to post more videos throughout the week. And definitely, I will keep write a post to keep you all notified.